It's hard to imagine anything good coming from a tsunami caused by an earthquake, especially with the devastating loss of life it brings. But once the chaos settles and people start rebuilding, some strange things and even creatures have been found washed up on beaches. Here are 15 of the strangest things discovered after tsunamis. Number 15. 80,000 Nike shoes. In 1992, a massive number of Nike sneakers also found themselves floating in the freezing waters of the Pacific Ocean. Following a hurricane in May 1990, 80,000 pairs of the popular sports shoe were said to have been lost at sea when the container ship P&O Ned Lloyd Auckland, heading from South Korea, encountered the hurricane partway through their journey. Caused heavy rolling, with winds so strong they threw a dozen 40-foot-long containers overboard. One was filled with the Nike footwear destined for the United States. Oceanographer Curtis Ebesmeyer used the remaining floaters to track ocean currents and expected some of the shoes to arrive on Alaskan beaches in 2012 and Washington beaches in 2020. He says if they are drifting at an average rate of 7 miles per day, they may have already floated around the world twice. The chances of securing a pair, however, are slim, with Nike unable to confirm if their laces were tied together. Number 14. A Harley-Davidson. Imagine losing your prized possession to the depths of the ocean floor. Well, this was the reality for a Harley-Davidson owner whose motorcycle was being transported in a storage container across the sea at the very same time the massive earthquake-triggered tsunami hit Miyagi Prefecture and other parts of Japan's northeastern coast on March 11, 2011. The bike's owner, Ikuo Yokoyama, survived the tsunami himself. However, he lost several members of his family and all of his possessions. Believing his motorcycle to be lost at sea, he barely gave it another thought, instead concentrating on rebuilding his life. Miraculously, just over a year later in April 2012, Canadian beachcomber Peter Mark made a surprising discovery. A large storage container washed up on the coast of isolated Graham Island in British Columbia. Having succumbed to the sea 13 months prior following the tsunami, the insulated container was holding a broken and rusted 2004 Harley-Davidson night train motorcycle with Japanese license plates. The VIN number was still visible, and the bike's owner, Ikuo Yokoyama, was notified. The Harley-Davidson had survived a 4,000-plus mile journey across the Pacific and was finally home, albeit slightly worse for wear and beyond repair. Harley-Davidson offered to replace the bike. However, after the year his fellow countrymen had endured, Ikuo didn't feel right accepting the generous gift. Instead, he gifted his ruined bike to a museum, where it stands today in remembrance of the 2011 tragedy that claimed over 15,000 lives and changed the lives of those who survived it forever. Number 13. Fishing boat. According to the Japanese government, the tsunami that hit their northeastern coast in March 2011 saw approximately 20 million tons of material washed out to sea. One piece of debris, which was especially visible and a little too large to salvage, was the Ryou-Un Maru, a fishing trawler found on March 23, 2012, spotted off the coast of the Canadian province of British Columbia. The ghost ship appeared as a small white blip slowly drifting in a maritime transport corridor about 900 kilometers from its home port. Marine conservationist Marcus Ericsson, who led a 2012 expedition to survey the large volume of debris that had been cast into the ocean, said the ship, located in the center of the Pacific Ocean, was initially mistaken for a whale. On closer inspection, the large abandoned boat was a Japanese trawler. A salvage team was sent to inspect the boat, and it was found to be structurally sound, posing no immediate danger. The Japan Coast Guard contacted the owner, who said the vessel was moored at Hachinohe in the Aomori Prefecture when the tsunami hit. The 50-meter trawler was considered a navigation obstruction, so it was sunk approximately 314 kilometers from Sitka, Alaska, by naval cannon fire. Number 12. A huge dock. Another significant find, and perhaps an indication of just how powerful the waves of the Japanese tsunami were, was the recovery of a concrete dock, one of 4 said to possibly be floating somewhere in the Pacific Ocean. The dock, previously situated in Misawa in northern Japan, broke free from its moorings when the tsunami hit on March 11, 2011, washing it out to sea. At 66 feet long, 19 feet wide, and 7 feet tall, the large floating pier was swept onto a beach north of Newport, Oregon, southwest of Portland, in June 2012. The journey of the dock across the Pacific Ocean took over a year, with ocean currents and winds guiding its path. When it washed ashore, it was found to be covered in marine life, including invasive species such as Japanese starfish and crabs, which raised concerns among local environmentalists. Biologists worked quickly to remove and study the organisms, fearing they could disrupt the local ecosystem if left unchecked. The dock's arrival served as a stark reminder of the far-reaching effects of the tsunami, not just in terms of human tragedy but also its environmental impact. Its discovery also highlighted the interconnectedness of the world's oceans, as debris from one side of the planet can end up thousands of miles away. Information on a plaque attached to the dock enabled Japanese officials to determine where it originated from. Although covered in reinforced concrete and an extremely large structure, the dock was filled with styrofoam, allowing it to float across an entire ocean with relative ease. Number 11. 300 species of sea creatures. Labeled unprecedentedly powerful, the earthquake that struck the Tohoku region of Japan on March 11, 2011, brought with it a 40-meter-high tsunami. Together, they destroyed hundreds of thousands of buildings, wrecked the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant, and shifted the entire planet a few inches on its axis. These catastrophic consequences were immediately obvious. However, there were subtler ones that occurred over the years following, with 20 million tons of debris making its way into the ocean following the tsunami, including plastics and metals. Many new species have used these as transport across oceans. In fact, since the tsunami, nearly 300 species of sea creatures have made their way to the shores of Washington, Oregon, California, and Hawaii, some 4,300 miles away from their previous home. These sea creatures have adapted for life on the coast, surviving for years at sea, effectively hitchhiking across the ocean upon or inside any suitable debris they can find. Marine biologists documenting the castaways, mostly shellfish and crustaceans, have noted that year after year, they continue to wash up along the coast of the Pacific Northwest and California, most clinging to plastic debris. Surprisingly, this phenomenon isn't new, with animals rafting across seas for millions of years. Most of the animal population of Madagascar probably rafted from mainland Africa, and that was 60 million years ago. So why not today? The difference being that the plastic waste is allowing these creatures to travel further and longer than was ever thought possible. Now it's time for today's topic. In the aftermath of a devastating tsunami along the coast of Indonesia, a local man sent his drone to survey the destruction in his village. Flying over the debris-strewn shoreline, he hoped to capture footage of the damage for documentation. But what his drone recorded left him frozen in fear. Amid the wreckage of shattered homes and uprooted trees, the drone's camera captured something unexplainable. A massive, unidentified creature lying motionless on the shore. Its body was unlike anything he had ever seen, with rough, scaly skin and elongated limbs partially buried under debris. The creature's size was staggering, stretching nearly 10 feet, and its lifeless appearance made it seem like a casualty of the tsunami. Shaken but curious, the man immediately went to the location captured in the footage. However, when he arrived, the creature was gone. The debris was undisturbed, as if nothing had been there at all. It was like it came alive and returned to the sea, he later said. The footage has sparked intense debate online. Some believe it was an undiscovered deep-sea creature washed ashore by the tsunami, while skeptics argue it could be a hoax. Whatever the truth, the man swore he would never go near the ocean again. The mystery remains unsolved. Number 10. An ancient town. Surely, from an archaeological perspective, the 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake and resulting tsunami was good. It seems an odd thing to admit, considering the devastating toll the Boxing Day tsunami took on Indonesia, but researchers quietly acknowledged it revealed more than expected. With its epicenter located off the west coast of northern Sumatra, Indonesia, the earthquake, registering magnitude 9.1 to 9.3 MW, was the third largest ever recorded. It was caused by a rupture along the fault line between the Burma and the Indian plates. Waves of up to 100 feet high were created by the underwater seismic activity, with communities all along the surrounding coasts of the Indian Ocean affected. It's estimated the resulting tsunamis killed 227,898 people in 14 countries, and is said to be the deadliest natural disaster in history. It is also said to have revealed something quite unique to fishermen standing along the shoreline in Mahabalipuram, India. Spread across nearly a mile, the fishermen stared at the reality of generations of legends, with the retreating waves briefly exposing the remains of ancient temples. Hundreds of refrigerator-sized blocks, difficult to prove, considering the sea swallowed the site up again as quickly as it was revealed. The fishermen insisted that they had seen the destroyed walls of the ancient ruins, covered in coral, with a broken-down temple in the center. A few hundred yards away, however, something else came to the surface. A small cluster of long-buried boulders with carvings of animals, gods, and servant girls engraved in them. This find brought tourists back to Mahabalipuram, keen to investigate what the tsunami had dug up, to spend time looking at the carvings, and to splash their feet in the ocean. Number 9. Love letters from World War II. The strongest hurricane of the 2012 Atlantic hurricane season, Superstorm Sandy, may have destroyed towns and homes and taken lives, but the raging storm also turned up something that proves love truly does conquer all. Just a day after Hurricane Sandy ravaged the East Coast, Kathleen Mullen found a precious pink ribbon-wrapped package near the Jersey shore. Inside was a stack of 57 letters, sodden by the storm but still intact. Mullen took them home, dried them by the fire, and promised to reunite them with their rightful owner. The letters, written between lovers Dorothy Fallon and Lynn Farnham between 1942 and 1945, spoke of Lynn's time in the military. The heartfelt letters detailed Lynn's experiences during World War II, including his time stationed at Pearl Harbor, and expressed his longing to return home to Dorothy. They also revealed the couple's plans for their future together, including dreams of starting a family and building a life after the war. Mullen was deeply moved by the love and devotion captured in the letters, which she described as a window into a different time. The discovery of the letters quickly gained attention, with local news outlets covering the story and helping spread the word about Mullen's search for the rightful owner. The letters became a symbol of resilience and hope, reminding people of the enduring power of love, even in the face of disaster. Mullen posted about the letters on Facebook and Craigslist and inquired with findagrave.com, where she found Lynn Farnham had died in 1992 and was buried in New Jersey. She was able to connect with Lynn's niece, who lived in Virginia. She was thrilled to hear of the find, calling it a genealogical gold mine, and was keen to reunite them with her Auntie Dorothy, who was still alive and in a nursing home in New Jersey. Dorothy had married Lynn after he served in World War II and was at Pearl Harbor. She is still alive in a nursing home in New Jersey. Number 8. Vast quantities of drugs. No doubt the perfect dumping ground for the drug trafficker looking to avoid prosecution. The sea can provide the perfect burial site, whether accidental or on purpose, with bags dropped into the murky depths never to be seen again. Well, that's the expectation, but not necessarily the reality. In fact, bags laden with drugs and drug paraphernalia are commonplace, with many known to have washed up on beaches over the years. So in May 2015, when a 66-pound bundle of cocaine worth $3.5 million was found on a local beach in Texas, police barely broke a sweat. There was, however, something a little unusual with this package, as it was the 6th discovered on that exact beach that week. The bundles were tightly wrapped in waterproof material, designed to withstand the harsh conditions of the ocean and prevent water from damaging the contents. Investigators speculated that the drugs may have been part of a larger shipment that was either accidentally lost or deliberately dumped to avoid detection. The Gulf of Mexico is a known hotspot for drug trafficking, with cartels often using boats and even submarines to smuggle their goods. Strong currents and storms can sometimes scatter these packages, causing them to wash ashore miles away from their intended destination. Local residents were warned to report any suspicious packages they found, as handling them could pose serious legal and safety risks. The discovery also highlighted the challenges law enforcement faces in combating drug trafficking, as the sea provides traffickers with a vast and unpredictable route. Despite the influx of drugs washing ashore, authorities were unable to trace the packages back to their source, leaving the case unsolved. Heightened security through the channel may have led traffickers to throw their illegal yet lucrative haul overboard. Number 7. The unidentifiable orfish. Considered a bad omen, the orfish is a strange-looking creature that inhabits the world's oceans. The sea creature is said to have a snake-like body and grow up to 15 feet long. However, some even stayed a whopping 50 feet in length. Typically a rare find, one was found by swimmers on the coast of Spain in Valericos. Its severe state of decomposition made it difficult to accurately identify. However, it was said to be an orfish that a fishing vessel had pulled aboard. Orfish are known for their shimmering, silver bodies and bright red dorsal fins, which make them look almost otherworldly. Their long, ribbon-like bodies allow them to move gracefully through the water, using undulating motions to navigate the deep sea. Despite their size, orfish are harmless to humans, feeding primarily on plankton and small crustaceans. Scientists believe that changes in ocean currents or underwater seismic activity may disorient these deep-sea creatures, causing them to surface or wash ashore. This has fueled the belief that orfish sightings are linked to natural disasters, though there is no scientific evidence to support this claim. A growing number of the fish have also been making their way into fishermen's nets in Japan in recent times, raising the superstitions of the locals. Normally a deep-sea dwelling species, living between 200 and 1,000 meters below the surface, rumor has it that the frequency of orfish landing in nets is linked to an impending disaster, such as an earthquake or tsunami. Giving this myth further traction was the dozen orfish washed up on a beach in the year prior to the 2011 Fukushima earthquake and tsunami. According to the region's Fisheries Research Institute, the increased sightings may be linked to the surface temperature in Toyama. Recently, it's been several degrees higher than average, and at deeper depths, the water appears cooler than normal. Number 6. An engineer and his crew. In October 2018, the 500-ton cargo vessel KM Sabuk Nusantara 39 crashed into a dockside settlement after being dragged out to sea by a tsunami and sent hurtling back into shore moments later. The ship's engineer, Charles Marlin, said the ship was docked in Juanga, east of the city of Palu, when he had felt it shaking and watched as everything in the bunk room began to fall. This was followed by the unsettling realization that this vessel was being sucked out to sea, a telltale sign of an imminent tsunami. Unaware that a major earthquake had just struck the Indonesian island of Sulawesi, Marlin wasn't prepared for what happened next. As the ship was pulled out to sea, the crew could hear the deafening roar of the approaching tsunami, a sound Marlin later described as like a freight train coming straight at us. The force of the wave was so immense that it lifted the massive vessel as if it were a toy, carrying it inland with terrifying speed. The crew clung to whatever they could find, bracing themselves as the ship collided with buildings and debris along the shoreline. Witnesses on land described the scene as surreal, with the enormous ship crashing into the settlement like a battering ram. The tsunami left a trail of destruction in its wake, with homes, businesses, and infrastructure reduced to rubble. Despite the chaos, the crew managed to maintain their composure, working together to ensure everyone's safety. The ship's final resting position, perched awkwardly on land, became a stark symbol of the disaster's power and unpredictability. Gripped by fear, they scrambled into their life jackets as a 5-meter wave came crashing down on top of them. The next minute, they were sitting on land, balanced precariously with the ship's propeller and rudder exposed. Miraculously, no one, either on the boat or on land, was hurt. Number 5. Civil War-era cannonballs. The first Category 5 Atlantic hurricane since Felix in 2007, Hurricane Matthew caused catastrophic damage and a humanitarian crisis in Haiti. The deadliest Atlantic hurricane since Hurricane Stan in 2005, Hurricane Matthew resulted in 546 deaths and widespread devastation and destruction in the southeastern United States, totaling approximately $2.8 million in damages. The hurricane formed on September 28, 2016, and dissipated on October 10, 2016, effectively holding the area ransom for almost 2 weeks. Whilst on its trail of death and destruction, Hurricane Matthew was also responsible for unearthing a surprising discovery. A local resident walking along a section of a South Carolina beach discovered what appeared to be cannonballs lying innocently on the sand. Experts believe the cannonballs were remnants of the Civil War, likely buried for over a century before being unearthed by the hurricane's powerful storm surge. The discovery sparked significant interest among historians, who noted that the area had been the site of several key battles during the Civil War. The cannonballs were heavily corroded, with their surfaces encrusted in layers of sand and salt, making them difficult to identify at first glance. Local authorities quickly cordoned off the area to ensure public safety, as the unstable gunpowder inside posed a potential risk. The Navy's explosive ordnance disposal team carefully transported the cannonballs to a secure location, where they were safely detonated. Despite the loss of the artifacts, the discovery served as a reminder of the region's rich history and the unexpected ways in which nature can reveal the past. The incident also highlighted the importance of preserving historical artifacts while ensuring public safety. Local authorities were notified, and the cannonballs were transported to the Navy base nearby and subsequently destroyed. Thought to be approximately 150 years old, the explosives were found to contain unstable gunpowder, so any hope of displaying them had to be abandoned. Number 4. A rock band. Presenting a stark reminder of the enormity of the tsunami that hit Indonesia's Sunda Strait just days before Christmas 2018. Video footage shows the moment a wall of water hit revelers enjoying a private beachside concert. The footage shows just how quickly a celebratory scene could turn into a nightmare, with the surging waves catapulting members of the rock band 17, much of their equipment, and the gathered crowd into the water. Just 2 songs into their set when tragedy struck, the Jakarta-based rock band lost 4 members of their band that night, with just their lead vocalist surviving the tragedy. The tsunami struck without warning, as no earthquake preceded it, leaving residents and visitors with no time to evacuate. Experts later explained that the collapse of a large portion of the Anak Krakatau volcano triggered an underwater landslide, displacing massive amounts of water and creating the deadly waves. The lack of a tsunami warning system in the area highlighted the vulnerability of coastal communities to such disasters. Entire villages were swept away, with homes, businesses, and infrastructure reduced to rubble in a matter of minutes. Rescue teams worked tirelessly in the days that followed, searching for survivors amidst the debris and providing aid to the thousands left homeless. The disaster also caused significant environmental damage, with mangroves and coral reefs destroyed, further exposing the region to future risks. In the aftermath, the Indonesian government pledged to improve its early warning systems and disaster preparedness to prevent such tragedies in the future. The tsunami served as a grim reminder of the power of nature and the importance of investing in resilience and safety measures for vulnerable communities. The death toll rose steadily over the days following, reaching 426, and over 14,000 people were injured in the disaster. Said to have been caused by the eruption and partial collapse of the Anak Krakatau volcano in the Sunda Strait, the tsunami struck several coastal regions of Banten and Java and Lampung in Sumatra, Indonesia. Number 3. Ice balls. There's nothing quite like a snowball fight in the middle of winter. That is, unless you find yourself on a beach in Finland in 2019, when a hailstorm created what can only be described as a rare and surreal natural phenomenon. Not for the faint-hearted, these ice balls weren't the ideal ammunition for a snowball fight. In fact, it would be like being hit with a cricket ball. For viewing only, the ice balls were found by amateur photographer Risto Mattila while he was out for a stroll along Marjaniemi Beach on Finland's Hailuoto Island. The frozen spheres littered a stretch of almost 30 meters of sand and ranged in size from golf ball to football. Scientists explain that this phenomenon occurs under very specific conditions, including the right temperature, wind speed, and wave action. The water must be just below freezing, and small pieces of ice or slush act as the seeds for the balls to form. As the waves roll these ice seeds around, they gradually grow larger, becoming smoother and rounder with each pass. This process is similar to how pearls form in oysters, but on a much larger and colder scale. Such ice balls are extremely rare and have only been documented a handful of times in places like Russia, the Great Lakes in the United States, and now Finland. The sight of thousands of perfectly rounded ice balls scattered across the beach left locals and visitors in awe, with many describing it as something out of a winter fairy tale. The phenomenon also sparked interest among meteorologists and climate scientists, who see it as a fascinating example of nature's ability to create order out of chaos. Mattila is said to have felt quite lucky to have witnessed such a thing, having never seen anything quite like it during his 25 years of living in the area. His photos will ensure his memories are preserved for many years to come. Number 2. 28,000 rubber ducks. Imagine crossing the Pacific Ocean and coming across a trail of yellow rubber ducks. You'd have to rub your eyes and take a second glance, maybe even a third. But back in 1992, if you had been seabound, your eyes may not have been deceiving you, for 28,000 rubber ducks and assorted bath toys are said to have walked the plank during a particularly ferocious storm. The popular bathtub toy was joined by plastic green frogs and blue turtles on its adventures throughout the ocean, with many still being discovered 25 years later, washing ashore on beaches halfway around the world. Oceanographers have used the journey of these friendly floatees to study ocean currents and better understand how debris moves across the globe. The toys have provided valuable data on the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, a massive collection of marine debris trapped by ocean gyres. Some of the ducks have even been found frozen in Arctic ice, only to be released decades later as the ice melts. Their durability has sparked conversations about the long-lasting impact of plastic pollution in the ocean and the need for more sustainable materials. The story of the rubber ducks has also inspired books, documentaries, and even children's educational programs about oceanography and environmental conservation. Despite their unintended role as pollutants, the ducks have become a symbol of curiosity and discovery, connecting people across continents. These plastic toys have been found in many corners of the globe, including Hawaii, Alaska, South America, the Pacific Northwest, Scotland, and Newfoundland in the Atlantic. Nicknamed the Friendly Floatees, the plastic toys journeys have been tracked by devoted followers over the years, with a website created for photos of sightings to be uploaded. The website's administrator is a retired oceanographer and floaty enthusiast and says people have sent him pictures of the ducks they find on beaches all over the world. Number 1. Stranded buoy. Hurricane Irma caused widespread destruction and catastrophic damage when it struck Hilton Head in September 2017. It also threw a 13,000-pound U.S. Coast Guard buoy onto the shore between South Forest and Coligny beaches. Considered an unlikely visitor, the large red buoy, identified as Buoy 8, was deposited onto the shore between South Forest and Coligny beaches during Tropical Storm Irma. The buoy had been carried by strong waves about 8 nautical miles to the beach from its original destination. Found by surprised walkers on the beach, the buoy had been left lying on its side and made for an intriguing sight on the shoreline. The Coast Guard quickly organized a recovery operation, as the buoy's absence posed a potential hazard to navigation in the busy waters of Port Royal Sound. Specialized equipment, including cranes and heavy-duty trucks, was brought in to lift and transport the massive buoy back to its original location. The recovery process wasn't easy, as the soft sand and high tide made it challenging to maneuver the heavy object. Local residents gathered to watch the operation, marveling at the sheer size of the buoy and the effort required to move it. Once returned to the water, the buoy was inspected and repaired to ensure it could continue its vital role in guiding vessels safely through the area. The incident served as a reminder of the immense power of hurricanes and the unexpected ways they can disrupt even the most well-anchored objects. Hilton Head resident Jacqueline Hayworth found the buoy whilst out surveying the damage caused by Irma's wrath and noticed a light blinking in the distance. The blinking turned out to be an 8-foot-wide, 21-foot-long buoy with the serial number 850,702 Mauritania Nugias, imprinted on it. The lost buoy had come from the mouth of the Port Royal Sound and needed to be returned as soon as possible. As a traffic signal for water vessels, the missing buoy plays an important role in the ocean. Plus, it's worth $24,000 and next to useless on non-dry land. Tsunamis and hurricanes take lives, destroy buildings, and reshape landscapes forever. But sometimes, they also uncover fascinating historical items thought to be lost forever. They can even bring back precious treasures when no one expects it. Surprised? So were we. Don't forget to check out our other cool videos showing up on the screen right now. See you next time.